Welcome. So glad you tuned in on Leap of Faith as we explore Ethos. Ethos is about the characteristic spirit of our Catholic culture. It is about trust, credibility, authority. We partner with the University of Dayton as we seek to explore critical issues of our church that help us to broaden our perspective and reimagine our faith. Take the leap with us. Explore the religious imagination. Viewers, welcome to Ethos. Our theme for today's show is what is AI and how does it impact us? So I would like to introduce you to our panelists. Today we have Robert Stewart. He has served as the IT manager for the Institute of Pastoral Initiatives, or IPI, at the University of Dayton for over a decade. Alongside supporting the technological needs of the IPI team, he is responsible for overseeing and enhancing the VLCFF, which you'll remember from our last show is Virtual Learning Community for Faith Formation, their website, and its related databases. These platforms facilitate the delivery of online courses to an annual enrollment of over 6,000 adult students seeking Catholic faith education and formation. So Robert, welcome. Sister Angela Ann has collaborated with the Caribbean School for Catholic Communications, Crady, Living Waters Community, and various dioceses throughout the Caribbean. She is a Department of Religious Studies professor specializing in pastoral and catechetical ministry courses. Sister is no stranger to us. Welcome, Sister. Miles Hall is a graduate from Xavier University where he earned his BA in Digital Innovation, Film and Television. He's a lover of everything video, from storytelling to social media to drone operation. He has recently joined the University of Dayton team as a digital media specialist where he manages the video content and marketing of their virtual courses. In fact, you can now find our Ethos programs there as well. So welcome, Miles. Christopher, we want to welcome you. Christopher Pitstick is a graduate of the University of Dayton. He has been a software developer for over a decade, spanning roles at Microsoft, Amazon, and now works on cloud computing to achieve the goal of self-driving cars at Ford. He's always been interested in finding ways for computer science and the Catholic faith to work together. He views the microprocessor as a miracle that only God's grace could have inspired and continually desires to share that passion with anyone who will listen. Additionally, as someone on the autism spectrum, he's an advocate for celebrating neurodiversity in our modern world. Christopher, special welcome to you. Thank you very much for being with us. So let's jump straight in. What is AI and how does it impact us? You know, we hear about AI, and for our viewers, it's artificial intelligence. We think of robots, virtual reality, holograms, high-tech, futuristic and sophisticated technologies. If you remember, back in the 60s and 70s, there was this cartoon called The Jetsons with flying cars and Rosie, their robotic house helper. Some of us will remember that. There were actually a few gadgets that show predicted, like video calls, robotic vacuum cleaners, drones, smartwatches, believe it or not. So Christopher, this is to you. You are a software designer. What are some of the emerging technologies or existing AI encounters? Really, in a nutshell, what is AI and how is it being used today?
Yeah, that's an easy question to answer, right? Not really. I'll first start with the textbook definition. Artificial intelligence is a wide-ranging branch of computer science concerned with building smart machines capable of performing tasks that typically require human intelligence. Basically, we're trying to replicate ourselves. But what I think we really mean here is we're trying to create artificial wisdom. As an example, the computer that I'm broadcasting this from right now can do something like 64 billion mathematical operations per second. You know, try that in math class. How do we wisely use that kind of power? I just heard that recently by moving water around the Earth, we shifted Earth's tilt of its axis. We're that powerful now. We need to be careful about how wise we are about how to use that. And I'm not that wise, but what we're trying to do is create something that is. And I view that in the best possible light. The simplest version of AI, though, is something that plays chess. What it really does is it just tries every combination of the game. It's really dumb. But big systems like ChatGPT that we've all heard of reverse this. You take millions of examples of chess games, and it learns which moves are most likely to cause the game to be won. And then it tries to use those given the circumstances. How do we encounter AI mostly? The biggest one is advertising online. So let's just take a simple example. If I'm at a party and I'm buying plates, if I'm going to host a party and I go online and buy plates, online advertising knows that if I'm buying plates, I'm probably going to want to buy cups. Why? Because it's seen a shopping cart, examples of shopping carts all over the place of people buying plates and cups for a party. But there's other examples like smart thermostats that try to keep the temperature of your house exactly where you want it. Another simple example is just the AI opponent in a computer video game. That has been around since the 1980s. And a really interesting one that you may not know about is commercial airplanes. Most commercial airplanes are now flown by artificial intelligence most of the time. Statistically, human pilots are less safe than the AI pilot. And finally, I'll talk about what I work on. Your car has an algorithm that decides when to slam on the brakes if something is stopped in front of you. That's artificial intelligence. If you try and think, what are all the rules of when I should hit a brake and when I should not? Well, when you're going to collide with something. But it's not always that simple. Artificial intelligence is trying to distill wisdom into predictable rules that can be consistently applied for the benefit of society. At the end of the day, AI is neither good nor bad. It is a tool, and by God's grace, we will control it well.
Thank you very much. So that leads me to the next movement, hitting pause on AI development. There's an article headed Hitting Pause on AI Development, and it is explained that this would be the first human invention capable of inventing things we could never invent for ourselves, things that promise to make our lives longer, easier, and more enjoyable. To me, that sounds good. But hear what it says after. It says, all we have to do is get out of its way. So, Miles, I'm going to ask you this one. What makes the dawn of AI unique from other technological advancements of the past? And should we be afraid of where it is heading? Should we just get out of the way?
Thanks for your question, Natasha. To answer that, I don't think that we should get out of the way or be afraid. Ultimately, it's our responsibility to control this technology and make sure it's getting to a place that is both ethical and safe, as well as ultimately serving humanity in its best interests. It's such at an early stage right now, this technology, that we're not able to just get out of the way and let it do its thing. There's still so many human engineers in charge of controlling this technology, and it's ultimately up to us to make sure that we keep that control. I don't think we should ever get to the point where we just let these machines loose and say, go solve X, Y, and Z, because we don't really know kind of the steps that they'll take to solve those problems. And that's where the danger comes from. We may want certain problems to be solved, but the AI may see a way to solve those problems that could cause harm to other people. An example is if you put an AI into a business setting and you said, increase the profits for my company, simple request. That AI may take that request and it could increase your profits, but maybe damage another company or another group of people through, corporate sabotage or, who knows what could happen. It does have the possibility to be a dangerous technology, but I don't think we should be afraid of it. There's so many technologies that we use today that aren't very old, but when they first came out, they were rudimentary and basic, and there were doubters to it. like the cell phone. People thought, well, I'm never gonna need a cell phone, phone to carry around with me day to day. But now it's hard to get through modern life without having one. And the technology is just going to get better and better. But ultimately, it's up to us to make sure that the technology is safe and effective for the human race.
Yes, thank you very much, Miles. And as you said before, it's really about the question of ethics. So this brings us to that, ethics on the internet. We're all fast becoming aware of ChatGPT. Now, this is a sibling model to InvestGPT, which interacts in a conversational way, answers follow-up questions, admits mistakes. You can actually talk to ChatGPT and it will answer. So from an informational aspect, it's taken to a whole other level, really. You can basically get ChatGPT to do your work for you. I think I'd like that. So, Robert, is that a good thing? How is this impacting us? How is this impacting on us and on the context of religious education? Can you explain that to us?
Sure. Thank you, Natasha. Well, the short answer is that it could be a bad thing. We definitely do not want to hand over all of our thinking to a cognitive machine. The good news, though, is that we don't have to. Right now, think of AI as a tool to help you think and learn on a higher plane, not replace you. In terms of religious education, for instance, platforms like the VLCFF could greatly benefit from the use of AI. It can enhance the learning experience by providing accessible and instantaneous information. ChatGPT can help answer theological questions, provide historical context, assist with language translation. We're just scratching the surface. And I see this as a way to help deepen the understanding of our faith. However, it's critical to remember that AI tools don't replace the human element. The essence of faith is deeply personal and communal. It's intertwined with human experiences, emotions, and interpretations, something that AI can't fully grasp yet. So we have to strike a balance, use AI to supplement our learning and understanding, not to replace the human interaction that is so important to religious education. It's also essential that we ensure the ethical use of this technology. We have to respect the privacy and dignity of all users. It's not just about what we can do with AI, but also about what we should do. So our challenge is to integrate AI in ways that enrich our faith journey by safeguarding the human and spiritual dimensions. This is a conversation we need to continue having. We're dealing with a rapidly evolving new reality.
Yes, thank you very much, Robert. That leads me to the Pope's monthly intention quite back in November 2020. It was for robotics and AI to remain always at the service of human beings, which is exactly what you said, Robert. So Miles, let's hear your take on this. How do you see AI helping to make religious education more accessible? How do you see it remaining at the service of human beings in religious education?
Absolutely. Well, I agree with what the Pope said and what Robert just said. AI and artificial intelligences should always be at the service of humans. They should never be let loose and just allowed to do their own thing, because at the end of the day, these are tools that we created to serve us. And I don't think it's appropriate to attribute human-like characteristics to these AI and talk about morality for these technologies, because they aren't human. And like what Robert said earlier, they are currently incapable of understanding how faith is an intrinsically human connection. Faith is a bridge that humans can only cross, and AI and the technologies associated with it are just incapable of doing that. So I think we just need to remember that AI is a tool, and it can be used for religious education by using it as maybe a study assistant if you need to parse large groups of text or big swaths of information that may otherwise be hard to look through on your own. it should always be used as a way to assist you, never to just do the work for you, because then you kind of remove yourself from the real reason of faith and maybe why you're participating in it. So I think it's just always important to remember those things.
Right, Miles, thank you. So it's dangerous we have to watch what adjectives we attribute to AI. Yes, I understand. You know, we have Google, what you talked about, that information overload. Google, YouTube, now ChatGPT. They've all made information so accessible. But as humans, you see, we keep trying to know more and more. So we develop tools to almost make us superhuman, thinking a superhuman at a superhuman level. So Robert, AI is a tool that has the potential to dehumanize experiences due to its automated nature. How can we maintain that human touch, especially among our student bodies?
You know, it's true. Our insatiable thirst for knowledge has been just a hallmark of our human journey. It's what drives progress and innovation. As a faith community, we can appreciate that curiosity as a part of our God-given nature to understand the world better and ourselves. As for AI, again, it's important to see it as a tool, not a replacement for our humanity. Yes, it can automate tasks, analyze vast amounts of data, and provide immediate answers, but it's our role to ensure that we don't lose the human touch in the process. In other words, let's not get lazy. In an educational context, though, especially for the VLCFF, it means leveraging AI to foster human connection rather than to diminish it. So, for example, AI can take care of administrative tasks. That would free up more time for our facilitators and students to engage in meaningful dialogue, personal mentorship, community building, basically faith formation. It can help us tailor the entire learning experience to an individual's needs. This can make education more inclusive and effective. AI can also facilitate our global connection, allowing students with different cultures and backgrounds to learn from and with each other, promoting a sense of universal kinship.
Of course.
But we must also remember AI should augment our human capabilities, not replace them. And I'm going to sound like a broken record through this whole thing, because that is my focus, or should be our focus. We must keep the empathy, the understanding, and the conversations that make us human at the heart of education, whether online or offline. So after all, it's human touch that makes education a transformative experience, and no AI can replicate that, at least not for now.
No.
So the bottom line is it's our duty to shape these technologies to serve the human and spiritual needs and not the other way around.
Yes, thank you very much, Robert. Well taken. So, sister, though, from what I have read, there are major social justice issues we need to be aware of. What is happening behind the scenes in order to develop these programs? Our Catholic Church advocates a preferential option for the poor, sister. Are we taking advantage of cheap labor from lesser developed countries and encouraging sweatshops in creating these AI tools? As Christians, do we need to take a personal stance on this, sister?
Thank you, Natasha. I think that's an important question, and it relates to what Robert has shared, and Miles and Christopher. It goes back to the human encounter of how it impacts the human person. So will it create more sweatshops? Maybe the reality is it will diminish them, because everything will become automated. We won't need people into many of these professions, and probably that's what we really need to look at. What happens with the whole role of jobs? How many jobs will be eliminated? Recently, I was at a restaurant and the waiter was a robot, and it was so I didn't even have a real person initially dealing with me. I had a robot. So, what happens with that personal encounter with people? So the social justice issue is, how does everyone, there's a value to work. There's a value for investing our time and our energy and our creativity, which is God-given, into enhancing the quality of life. The social justice issue and the ethical issues, what will it mean in an artificial intelligence world to have quality human life? How different will it be than what we think of now? How will we use that time if we no longer will be doing those tasks, but artificial intelligence will? We don't have all the answers to this now, but we do have to explore those answers as AI begins to evolve in so many different ways. But concern about the information rich and the information poor. Will a select group of people in the world control artificial intelligence, and they have all the power, and everyone else has limited to no power? Will the larger group of people be inserting all the information into AI and to making these patterns and these comparisons, and the rest of us are simply receivers of it? Yes. Those are the questions I think we need to ask, and ask them in light of the thing, what does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be in relationship with one another with high quality? That's key.
That is key. And it leads us back to that fear factor. Artificial intelligence is fed by human intelligence. So on a global level, we're asking ourselves, are we being intelligent about this? I mean, governments have never really got together to ensure that these tools are not going to eventually destroy us. There's an article I read that said last year a survey of AI researchers found that half of them, that's 50% of AI researchers, believe there's a 10% chance that all future AI systems will cause the extinction or subjugation of the human race. Even Elon Musk said ChatGPT is a scary tool. So this is that fear factor. Christopher, I want to put this to you. What measures will governments have to put in place to be able to control things and prevent everything from getting out of hand?
Well, you ask easy questions on this broadcast. Asking me to determine government policy is definitely way out of my field of expertise, but with God's grace, I'll try. First, I will say we fear what we don't understand. So the first thing we should do is seek understanding. And the first thing to do that is to fund education, especially in computer science and engineering. Even today, computer science education is lacking in many places, including my own high school. But once you understand them, you fear them less. I mean, ChatGPT and related systems do a bunch of simple mathematical operations. They just do billions and billions of them. But that's it. That's all they are. It's a bunch of math. Now, depending on if you're scared of math, that's up to you, but that's all it is. It's just a lot of math. I'm skeptical of the assertion that AI will end the human race. It can only do that if we let it, because we built it. And the other thing I would say is, how many times has fear of the apocalypse risen in cultures throughout history only to be shown to be untrue? This time feels different, but it always does, right? I'll quote St. John Paul the Great. He said, "Be not afraid." I think it's time we start listening to him on that. The other one, I will back up what Sister said. A ChatGPT or the information controlled by the hands of a few elite companies or billionaires is not the way. That just plays into the hands of dark historical power dynamics. The code, how these things work, and the data need to be shared broadly. How that works, I'm not a government policymaker, but we need to incentivize ways for people to use these things broadly versus just keep them in the hands of a few. And then finally, what is the difference between AI and human intelligence? As I said earlier, AI is just a bunch of rules built into a machine to mimic the way we might do things. If this, then that. It is rules based on things we already know that humanity has already discovered. New systems like ChatGPT are excellent at repeating and remixing existing human knowledge. But human intelligence, I believe, is fundamentally more creative. We have no examples of how artificial intelligence can create new information. So for example, There's another system called DALL-E that does artwork. It can create all kinds of crazy, interesting pictures. But let's take a simple example of a dinosaur. It can create all kinds of really interesting pictures of dinosaurs. If you ask it to generate a T-Rex with a Triceratops or a Stegosaurus, it can do that. Or, draw a picture of a T-Rex standing on its head, it can do that. But it can't discover a new type of dinosaur. Only we can do that.
Yes, I understand.
That's the difference.
Yes, thank you, Christopher. Now, in March this year, AI researchers and tech entrepreneurs, including names like Elon Musk, Steve Wozniak, the co-founder of Apple, they called in an open letter for a 6-month pause in the development of AI systems more powerful than the GPT-4, which is the large language model, released by OpenAI earlier that month. So, sister, can you give us your final thoughts? Do the pros outweigh the cons?
Well, I do think, I'm not sure if we mean a moratorium, as we just have to be conscious of this, of what's happening. I think that's what we're all saying. There are advantages to all of this, but how fast we release it into the public forum may be the issue, where people will not have had a chance to critically reflect upon what the impact is going to be on the art of being human in an AI culture or world. So the moratorium more is perhaps we slow down in releasing all the information, but we don't slow down our research. Research needs to continue to develop so that we can look at it from the pros and the cons. But we within the church, as faith-filled people, we need to be aware of the important question of what does it mean to be human? What is the quality of life? And how do we enhance our relationship with God in this new culture, in this emerging new world,
yes,
so that we don't forget about God's place in our lives and in the world.
Yes, I'm so happy you ended on that note. So what we have to remember is Jesus Christ is risen, and therefore we face our future with confidence, no matter what that future brings. So that's the bottom line. So Robert, Miles, Christopher, Sister Angela, and viewers, thank you very much. Tune in again to Ethos.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.